My name is Lisa Devlin, and I'm 36 years old. Born into Boston money, raised on cocktail parties and Ivy League expectations, I was always the daughter who didn't quite belong. Too sharp around the edges, too American for Europe, too ambitious for the family's carefully manicured mold. While my siblings married lawyers and diplomats, I took a PR job, packed my life into a carry-on, and fell in love with a man I thought would finally see me as enough. But marrying into the Ventresca dynasty, old money Italian royalty, wrapped in silk and secrets, didn't make me powerful. It made me disposable. They dressed me in couture and called it love. Then, on the day of my wedding, my mother-in-law stood before 100 guests and humiliated me, in Italian, knowing I couldn't respond. And that was the last time I stayed silent. Rome. Palazzo senza pietà. My heels echoed across the marble as the string quartet drowned in applause. Alessandro took my hand, warm and steady. A perfect grip. A perfect lie. Guests stood clapping under the gold-rimmed dome. His world. Not mine. Senators, heiresses, paparazzi disguised as socialites. The kind of crowd where every smile cuts deeper than a knife. Then Marcella Ventresca, in velvet and pearls, stepped forward. No cue, no announcement, just her voice, sharp, surgical, cutting through the chamber in flawless Italian. Questa americana non appartiene al nostro sangue. The quartet stopped playing. Murmurs rippled. Someone in the back coughed. Alessandro froze. I blinked. I didn't need a translator. This American doesn't belong in our bloodline. No one stopped her. No one spoke. She turned to the cameras, adjusted her brooch, and smiled. The kind of smile that tastes like poison in champagne. Then she walked away. Click. Snap. Recordings. I felt them. Phones. Lenses. Heat rising up my chest like drowning in silk. She doesn't speak Italian, someone whispered behind me. But I did. Enough to feel my face crack in real time. Alessandro Lindin. We'll handle this after. No, I whispered back. We won't. He didn't answer. The reception was a blur of Prosecco and PR damage control. Marcella vanished. Alessandro played host. I smiled until my jaw ached. In the bridal suite, I tore off the dress, thumbed open my phone. The clip had gone viral. The video wasn't just online, it was everywhere. Millions of views. Subtitles added by strangers. Comment sections on fire. Disgraceful. Staged. She's a scam artist. One tweet. A crown doesn't make commoner royalty. The hotel's Wi-Fi blinked. Then came the real burn. A live stream recap. High-res, Marcella's face in frame. My stunned reaction looped under mocking audio. Someone had edited in circus music. My pulse pounded. My hands shook. This wasn't a wedding. It was an ambush. I went to Alessandro's study. Empty. A lit cigar smoldering in the ashtray. My eye caught something. A folder tucked under leather-bound ledgers. My name on the tab. Inside, marriage certificates, prenup documents, and a digital printout. An addendum. Clause 9.3. All jointly acquired assets revert to the Ventresca family in the event of public scandal attributable to Mrs. Devlin. Signed. Time-stamped. By me? No. I never saw this. Never signed it. But my digital signature was there. Perfect. Clean. Unquestionable. My stomach turned cold. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. No message. Just a single image. Me in the bridal suite, looking at the document. Someone was watching. I shut the blinds. Locked the door. Sat on the edge of the bed. There's a difference between being embarrassed and being erased. I just crossed that line. Florence smelled like old water and heat. The kind of heat that made stone sweat. I stared out from the hotel window, watching tourists with gelato and sun hats, while the walls around me pulsed like a trap. The suite Alessandro booked was too big, too quiet, high-ceilinged, gold fixtures, glass table I wouldn't touch. It felt like a waiting room for ruin. I locked the balcony, bolted the front, then double-checked the safe, only to realize I didn't know the new code. Of course I didn't. You're not meant to be in control, Lisa. You're meant to obey pretty. That voice, Marcella's, still echoed. I paced barefoot, wedding dress stuffed into a trash bag in the bathroom. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Just a period. Every message, like a pinprick in the spine. I tried to call Alessandro. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same. Checked the account we used to split expenses. 0. Checked the joint credit card. Transaction declined. Then came the text from the concierge. Mrs. Ventresca, your card is inactive. Please provide an alternate payment method for the suite. My chest tightened. I dialed my U.S. bank. Blocked. Access denied. A flag on the account. Pending review under Foreign Marital Assets Clause. I didn't even know that was a thing. They'd cut me off. Power isn't taken all at once. It's stolen by inches in silence while you're looking the other way. I called Cleo. She picked up mid-yawn. Damn, you actually used the line. I'm in trouble. I figured. The dress looked too expensive for a happy bride. I told her everything. The live stream, the document, the signature that wasn't mine. She didn't ask stupid questions. Just said, I'll start digging. I moved to the corner of the suite and pulled the blackout curtains tight. Cleo messaged back 10 minutes later. They registered a media contract under your name. What kind of contract? Full rights to image, voice, and likeness. Monetization. Global usage. Lisa, you're a brand now and they own it. I dropped the phone. Picked it up. Dropped it again. Someone knocked. 3 soft taps. Then nothing. I froze. Waited. Another 3. Lisa, a voice whispered. Not Alessandro. Not room service. The peephole showed a woman in sunglasses. Black gloves. Holding something in her hand. A red envelope. She slid it under the door and vanished. Inside, one line typed. They erased the last one. Don't be the next. The lamp next to the bed flickered. Coincidence? Maybe. I ripped out the SIM card. Burner phone. New number. No digital trail. Cleo messaged on Signal. Lisa. I found something. Folders named La Rosa. It's huge. Send it. No. Too risky. Meet me. Midnight. Ponte alle grazie. And Lisa, don't bring your phone. I left the suite at 11:42. Black hoodie. Cash in my bra. Hair pinned tight. No jewelry. Florence glowed in yellow sodium lights, soft and sickly. I walked with eyes down, breath shallow, footsteps quick. Every alley sounded like it held breath. By the time I reached the bridge, my palms were slick with sweat. Cleo leaned against the stone rail, cigarette in one hand, USB in the other. You brought a tail, she said. What? She flicked her chin behind me. 2 cars, tinted windows, 1 camera lens. I didn't look, just said, give me the file. She hesitated. You sure? Now. She slipped the USB into my pocket. There's a folder inside, she said. Project La Rosa. Internal memos. Timelines. 1 document labeled. Destroy the Rose, Lisa Phase. My throat closed. I was a phase? You were a target. The bridge felt colder. A breeze lifted my hood. Cleo crushed the cigarette. I'd vanish if I were you. Why help me? Because once you saved me from a bad contract. Now I'm saving you from one that ends in a coffin. I turned to leave. She grabbed my wrist. And Lisa, she said, you need to know something. What? Her face was stone. You weren't supposed to make it to the altar. My legs locked. Before I could ask, she shoved me toward the street. Go. I didn't run. I flew. Across cobblestones, slick with rain. My lungs burned. Hotel in sight. Two men stepped from a parked car across the road. Not cops. No vidis. One raised a phone, took a photo. The other followed me into the lobby. I turned, screamed, "Security!" The man vanished. Like smoke. Back in my room, I bolted the door. Collapsed. My heart refused to slow. My body trembled so hard I could barely breathe. I curled on the marble floor and whispered, "They don't want a divorce. They want me to disappear." Tuscany wasn't warm. It was damp and cold, like something buried. The kind of cold that climbs your spine even under 3 layers of wool. The kind of cold that smells like secrets. I drove myself, no GPS, no phone, just an old Alfa Romeo Clio bribed from a journalist she used to date. The kind of man who owed her enough to vanish for a week without asking questions. I didn't trust anything digital now. Not even the rearview mirror. The vineyard estate sat on a hill, swallowed in fog and olive trees. Faded shutters. Gravel path. One working light above the front porch, flickering like a dying eye. I turned the engine off and let silence crawl in. This was where the Ventrescas used to bury stories. Now it would be the place I built mine. The plan was simple. Hijack the narrative. Own it before they erased me again. So I staged it. Fairy lights in the abandoned greenhouse. Flowing linen. Candlelight dinners for one. I wore the same silk dress Marcella told me to burn. I filmed everything with an old Sony Camera Clio mailed me in pieces. One post, then another. Hashtag Labradorosa, the rose truth. Within an hour it was trending. Not viral yet, but bleeding into the cracks. Midnight. Clio sent a voice note. They're prepping a character assassination. Rumor blitz. Someone inside the EU press says they'll drop psychiatric files on you. Depression. Anxiety. A fabricated suicide watch. I didn't answer. I stared at the broken mirror above the sink. A crack ran straight through the reflection of my face. They're trying to ghost you before you even die, Cleo said. You need to beat them to it. I lit every candle in the villa that night. Let the shadows dance. Then I played the audio file from my sleeve mic, the one I'd hidden when Alessandro cornered me in Siena. Rewind. His voice, calm, clear. Don't make me finish what my mother started. Click. Save. Proof. Intent. Enough to pierce the mask. I needed more. I searched the attic. Found crates, labeled in Latin. Dust thicker than grief. In one box, a black case. Inside, wedding VHS tapes. From 1991, 1997, 2003. Names I didn't recognize. Women with tired eyes. Smiles too wide. The last tape had no label. I pushed it into the player. Static. Then Marcella's voice. Younger, but no less cruel. She thinks she's in love, but she's in the way. Camera pans, a woman in red lipstick crying near the pool. A man I recognized, Alessandro's uncle. And then the cut. No ending. Just the sound of someone saying, "Get rid of it." Quietly. I copied everything. Hid the flash drive under a loose floor tile. Burned the box. The next morning, I found the note pinned to the front gate. Clipped in red string. Paper handmade. One sentence. The heir is the only asset that matters. No signature. No address. Just another invisible gun to the back of my neck. I sat under the grape arbor. Fingers frozen around a mug of espresso. That's when I found the folder Cleo had hidden in the lining of the car. Not digital. Physical. She didn't trust servers anymore. Inside, photos. Receipts. Bank transfers. A page titled, Inheritance Directive, Subject, Devlin Lisa. Signed a week before the wedding. A clause naming Marcella Ventresca as guardian of any offspring resulting from my marriage. Everything makes sense when you realize it was never about you. It was about what you could produce. My chest cracked open. Then came the folder's final page. A still frame from a grainy surveillance video. Time-stamped. 2 weeks before the wedding. A man in a trench coat, passing a dossier to Marcella, in a church courtyard. I stared at the face. My hands went numb. Gray beard, bent frame, eyes I hadn't seen in 23 years. My father. He'd disappeared when I was 13. Left a note. No trace. No good vie. Now he was here, smiling as he handed over my life to the woman trying to destroy me. My father sold me to the highest bidder. The monastery looked abandoned from the road. Just stone, shadow, and a gate that creaked like it remembered every sin ever confessed behind it. Tuscany's fog hugged the walls, making everything feel half-drowned. I parked the Alfa Romeo behind a cypress tree and moved fast. No phone, no purse, just gloves, a flashlight, and the folder with my father's face burning a hole through my coat. Inside, the air was cold enough to taste. Old paper, iron, dust the color of bone. My footsteps echoed like someone else was following them. I kept telling myself a truth I'd once heard. Monsters hide best in legacy. And the Ventrusques had legacy in abundance. The archive room stretched forever, lit by a single hanging bulb that swung as if disturbed seconds earlier. I froze, listened. Nothing. Just the hum of the bulb and the thud of my own pulse. I searched the ledgers first. Date-stamped, handwritten, immaculate. The Ventrusques documented everything. Births, deaths, marriages, annulments, disappearances. Then I saw it. A leather-bound volume thicker than the rest. On di spine, il patto di sangue. The bloodline pact. I opened it with shaking hands. The script was archaic. Latin, Italian. Some words carved, not written. A list of wives. Foreign wives. Names scratched out with violent ink strokes. Margins filled with notes about mental instability, disobedience, infertility. And then the phrase repeated under several entries. La rosa terminativ. A pattern. An execution disguised as tradition. A whisper inside me said, if you want to understand cruelty, follow the paper trail. So I did. At the back of the ledger, a sealed envelope bearing the Ventrusca crest. I cracked it open. Inside was a modern legal contract, pristine, typed, notarized. My name, my signature, a clause I'd never seen. Custodial rights of any offspring shall transfer to Contessa Marcella Ventrusca in the event of marital discord, scandal, or proven unfitness. Unfitness, like I was livestock. My fingertips burned. I stumbled back, the room tilting. Someone had forged my name again. Someone had planned this long before I walked down the aisle. Before I could breathe, a voice cut through the darkness behind me. Put it down, Lisa. Ispun. Alessandro stood at the entrance of the archive. No footsteps. No warning. Just there, like he'd risen from the stone. His suit immaculate. His expression detached. Not a husband. A handler. How did you find me? My voice cracked. You never understood how traceable you are. Cold. Controlled. He stepped closer. Come home. Before this becomes worse for you. I saw the contract. Yes. I saw the pact. You weren't supposed to. I backed away. My palm hit a shelf. A ledger toppled. Dust lifted like ash. His jaw tightened. You still think this is about you. It isn't. It's about the continuity of a name that survived 6 centuries. And the women you destroyed to protect it? He blinked slowly as if annoyed. You should have stayed quiet. I pressed record on the hidden mic in my sleeve. My hand trembled, but I kept it low. What happens now? I asked. You leave Italy. Tonight. Quietly. We'll arrange the documents. And if I don't? Then I finish what my mother started. His words sliced the air. The same tone he'd used before. The tone of a man who didn't see a wife. Just an obstacle. I stepped toward the center of the room. putting distance between us. Why forge my signature? To protect the family. By destroying me? He sighed, as if I were a child, interrupting him. You were chosen because you were manageable. Your father secured that. The ground dropped beneath me. Explain. He came to us, not the other way around. I shook my head. Liar. Alessandro gave a small smile. Believe what you want. But the moment he realized what you could marry into, he traded silence for security. For money. For relevance. My stomach turned. My vision thinned. You're sick, I whispered. No, he said. I'm necessary. Cut. Flash. Candlelight flickering off his shoes. My breath fogging in the cold. He stepped closer. Come with me, Lisa. I moved first, grabbing the ledger and hurling it at a metal shelf. The crash echoed thunderloud. Dust exploded into the air. While he shielded his face, I ran. Down the hall. Through the stone archway. Up the worn staircase that shook with every step. My lungs burned. My heartbeat drowned out everything. Outside, fog swallowed me whole. I kept running, gravel slipping under my boots, branches clawing my coat. I didn't look back until the car alarm blared behind me. He found the Alpha. I sprinted into the vineyard, feet slipping, dress snagging, mud spattering up my legs, my breath sharp and metallic. I didn't stop until the hill dropped away and the monastery became a ghost in the mist behind me. I collapsed beside a low stone wall and clutched the flash drive I'd hidden earlier. Proof. Leverage. The only thing between me and oblivion. My hands shook so violently I almost dropped it. The wind hissed against my ear. A voice, not Alessandro's, whispered from somewhere behind the vines. Run while you still can. But I wasn't running anymore. They don't want a wife. They want a vessel. The invitation arrived in a white envelope sealed with crimson wax. A masquerade ball at Villa dei Fiori, hosted by the Ventresca family for charity. Tickets cost more than my old apartment in Boston. The dress code was black tie, masks mandatory. A trap, clear as smoke in a closed room. But I showed up anyway. I stood at the edge of the grand lawn, fountains flickering under cold lights. Garden mazes, crystal chandeliers hanging from outdoor pavilions like stars torn from the sky. Orchestra playing something slow and haunting. I wore a gold Venetian mask, not expensive but unsettling. Red velvet dress, shoes silent on gravel. Some people here looked relieved to see me. Others whispered. Cameras clicked. I felt watched. Because I was. Fear is a compass, I remembered thinking. It always points to the thing you need to confront. I kept my phone off. Cleo's USB drive was safe in my clutch, recording. Streaming. Hidden. 3 servers stood near the entrance. I walked past them. Eyes forward. Slow steps. Not trembling. Inside, the air smelled of roses and regret. Marcella stood by a marble fountain. Alessandro beside her. Smooth smile like a blade with its edge turned inward. The music slowed. A waiter passed champagne. Glasses chimed. So I pressed play on the stream. I didn't scream. I projected. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, voice steady. I have a story to share. Gasps. Whispers. I held up the flash drive. This contains evidence of a scheme that controlled my marriage before it began. Heads turned. Phones lifted. Security tensed. I slid the drive toward the nearest camera, one already live. Instant. Viral. I played the first recording. My sleeve mic from Siena. Alessandro's voice. Don't make me finish what my mother started. The gold mask beside me didn't move. Then I hit the next file, one after another. Contracts. Emails. A clause naming Marcella guardian of any child I bore. Not just cruel legal. Possessive. Ownership. The crowd murmured. Some shifted uneasily. Others turned their cameras toward Marcella. She smiled at first. Then the smile cracked like ice under pressure. Marcella's voice was supposed to be a shield. Tonight it became her cage. A waiter dropped a tray. Glass shattered. Footsteps quickened. And then a man in a mask slipped me a folder. Dark leather. Heavy. Inside, Marcella's secret will. Typed. Signed. Notarized. Alessandro was cut out. Completely. And the heir, any child, was sole beneficiary. Backdated before the wedding. I didn't expect that. A distraction. A reveal. I looked up. The crowd was silent now. Phones pointed like torches. People were recording every second. Someone shouted, "Who are you really?" I took a breath. My own mother called me naive once. Said innocence was my ruin. Truth and performance blurred. Suddenly, security converged. "Ma'am, step away from the camera." Their voices clipped. Precise. I bolted toward the wine cellar. Down the marble steps. Lights buzzing like angry bees. I heard a shout. Then, quick footsteps behind me. Cold stone walls closed in. My heart hammered. My breath was ragged. A guard lunged. I twisted, arm met his chest, and he toppled into stacked crates. Wood cracked. Bottles shattered. Red wine spilled like dark blood pooling across stone. I sprinted deeper. One guard left. Blocked the exit. No windows. Just shadows. I backed up. He lunged. I feinted right, moved left. Ran past him. Out into the lower corridor. Nothing but old barrels. Dust motes floated like tiny ghosts in the beam for my clutch light. Then, slow clapping. A masked man stepped out. Tall. Unseen. Too calm. "You're fast," he said. No fear in his voice. Just observation. His mask was white smooth. I raised my voice, shaky but loud. "Who are you?" He didn't answer. Just reached into his pocket. Pulled out a device, a phone? No, a remote. Red button glowed. My blood ran cold. "Everyone hiding something," he said. "Sometimes the secret is bigger than the lie." He pressed the button. The lights went out. Pitch black. Only the echo of my heartbeat. Then a voice, far but close, said my name. "Lisa." And in that moment, I realized the real trap wasn't the masquerade. It was the revelation. And I had no idea who was pulling the strings. My mask slipped. The corridor breathed darkness. I did too. The courtroom was cold. Marble floors. High ceilings. Echoes where truth should dominate. I stood between two rows of spectators. Phones raised like lances and felt every eye burn into me. Behind me, Cleo, silent but steady. Ahead, Judge Vincenzo Caruso, his expression unreadable. The prosecutor droned on, legal jargon stitched together with accusations meant to pin me as the villain. A foreigner out of her depth. A mental instability claim, framed as fact. They read files. They whispered innuendo. But I'd come prepared. Injustice thrives in silence, I reminded myself. Truth is its own witness. I watched Alessandro from the corner of my eye. He looked smaller here. Gray suit. No ballroom. No orchestra. Just gravity pulling down his jaw. The defense rose. Cleo stepped forward first, voice precise. "We present Exhibit A original contracts, notarized before any marriage ceremony." A slide lit up on the screen. Dates, signatures, timestamps. Mine. Fake. Verified by an external audit. A murmur passed through the room. Then the second piece, the Sienna audio. My voice trembling at first, then firm. Alessandro's words unmistakable. The courtroom shifted. Pages turned. Notes passed. Something real was unspooling. Finally, Judge Caruso spoke, voice low but firm. "We will hear from the witness, Ms. Devlin." I walked to the stand. The floor felt cold under my heels, but my breath was steady. They asked me to recount every detail, every humiliation, Every concealed contract. Every threat. I could feel the room leaning in. Power built on deception falls by every truth revealed. That line nearly slipped out when I spoke. I held it tight and let the facts do the damage. Then came the moment no one expected. Judge Caruso tapped a file on his bench. This court has received new evidence. Submitted anonymously. Verified independently. He looked at me. You may proceed. A single photograph appeared on the screen behind him. My father, older now, scarred, eyes haunted, not just a witness. He stepped forward from the public gallery, breathing heavy, a broken man. I was wrong, he said. His voice cracked like old wood. I was paid. I betrayed my daughter. Silence. Then the judge nodded. This court will examine this testimony under oath. My heart thudded. I didn't collapse. Not here. Not now. My father's words continued. They told me it would secure your future. I didn't know their plan. His confession was a blow, sharp and ugly, but it exposed the web that had bound me. The courtroom held its breath. The defense called the final witness, a former Ventresca associate who'd gone quiet for years. She provided emails showing the secret will intended to disinherit Alessandro, an interfamily move meant to secure the lineage. Every piece fit, like a puzzle I didn't know I was solving until now. Judge Caruso reviewed the final notes. Then he spoke again. This court finds that the actions conducted by Ventresca Enterprises and associated individuals constitute fraud, coercion, and manipulation under international marital law and estate control statutes. A hush. Then, all contracts involving Ms. Devlin are hereby null and void. Custodial and financial rights revert to the plaintiff. My chest loosened, just a fraction. Then the judge added, investigations into Project La Rosa and associated entities are to continue under legal supervision. That was the real blow. Everything wasn't just undone. It was exposed. Cleo leaned in and whispered, "We did it." I nodded, but my eyes were dry. Not tears, just release. Outside the courthouse, press storms, lights flashing, voices shouting. My image on every screen, no longer a scandal. A victory. But the world didn't look softer, just sharper. Survival isn't proving you exist, I thought. It's proving you matter. A reporter shoved a microphone. Ms. Devlin, what will you do next? I paused. Not scripted. Not rehearsed. I'll live, I said. Really live. The cameras blared. I felt lighter. Later, alone on the courthouse steps, I opened a message from an ally, a senior official offering support for continuing the investigation into international fraud tied to aristocratic exploitation. A future wider than revenge opened before me. Then a new notification. My viral posts now associated with a global movement against power abuse. Comments flooded. Truth wins. She rose from ruin. Justice, finally. I didn't scroll. I just breathed. Light cut through the marble columns. Warm, not blinding. A small victory, but real. The wind whispered against my jacket as I turned to leave. I thought of Marcella, of Alessandro, of my father, and I realized something. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper first, then an echo, then the world listens. I stepped down the stairs, the weight of what I lost replaced by what I found, myself. And that was the true reckoning.